directions. A presidential election that is nearly 4 years away is the theme of an unfolding political stage play. The prelude of the drama bears a combination of Kenya's political unknowns and the cold-blooded gladiator contest of ancient Rome. The curtains have hardly drawn apart, but the actors have already drawn their swords. The opening lines are as surprising as is the lead actor of the opening scene. David Murathe, a presidential confidant, is confidently projecting that Deputy President William Ruto will not and should not succeed President Uhuru Kenyatta as president in 2022. Murathe's opening lines have thrown the Jubilee backstage into disarray. Did he go off script, or is the presidential confidant introducing an entirely new script for the 2022 power play? And who is the playwright of Murathe's script? Tonight we speak to Senator Nakuru County, Susan Kihika on my left, Haman Mohamed Manyora is the political analyst, and Ngunjiri Wambugu, Member of Parliament, Nyeri Town. Keep texting us, 22422 is our SMS number. On Twitter, use the hashtag NEWSNIGHT. Now, more than anything, recently, Murathe's remarks, as I've just said, stirring controversy in the Jubilee Party, in fact, within and without or outside the Jubilee Party. Is it clear now that the president, or at the very least, Jubilee, is no longer and will not support Deputy President in succeeding President Uhuru Kenyatta? Let me start with you.
I don't know where you'd get that kind of position from, because a couple of things happened when Murathe made the remarks he made. First, when he was resigning, he made it very, very clear that these were his personal remarks.
That he made as he was the vice chair of the Jubilee
Party?
No,
he actually left vice chair because he said, my position, the position I'm now holding in terms of my political position, is untenable with me staying within Jubilee.
Okay.
Which means, had it been that we are not as a party going to support the deputy president, then why would he have quit? He would have stayed in the party. Okay. Because if a decision had already been made by the party that we are not going to support the deputy president, and he's already saying he's not supporting the deputy president, then he would have had no need to do
That's fine. Although, but you agree that he made those comments while he was the vice chair of the Jubilee Party?
Over holidays.
Still the vice chair.
It was
you don't stop being the vice chair when you're in holiday. Okay, be that as it may,
yes.
Raphael Tuju, picking up from him, talked about sympathizing with those who are thinking beyond, who are thinking. In fact, he said, I can't even think next week. So I'm sympathizing with anybody who thinks 2022. He went on ahead to give us an interview here with Enoch Sikoli, our reporter, and he said it's not automatic that Jubilee will support the deputy president.
Which is true. It is true. I mean, it's actually not automatic that Jubilee will support me to be the Member of Parliament for Nyeri Town in 2022. All of us are going to actually go through a nomination process. Okay. So at what point do you then wake up? You see, the Jubilee is a party with a constitution and with structures and with processes.
Okay.
In 2022, should I decide to run for Member of Parliament for Nyeri again, I'll actually go through a nomination process. And I am the current Member of Parliament on Jubilee in Nyeri today.
Okay.
If you want to run for president, what if I woke up and decide I want to run for president? Are you telling me I can't run for president because the deputy president wants to run for president? So
because there's a promise to support the deputy president.
Remember, even the deputy president himself said that there's going to be a nomination process, and it's going to be a fight because we have to put our best people out there. So in 3 years, what would have happened? Anything could happen in 3 years. As Tuju said, 3 years is a long time in politics.
Honorable Keika.
Yes, I think to the first question you've asked whether...
it's clear now that, there's no automatic support for the deputy president.
I don't think that would be the right statement in the sense that there's no support for him automatically. But as he said, when the time comes, 2022, the party will obviously run nominations, and whoever else wants to run against him will go to the ballot for the nominations. And if he wins, then he'll be the Jubilee candidate. Yes, Murathe did make those statements as when he was the vice chair of the party, but he was not speaking for the party. He was just speaking for himself, and as Mheshimiwa from Nyeri said, it was during the holidays, so maybe he was a bit intoxicated, I don't know, but he was not speaking for the party.
Okay, those are your opinions, although you say you don't know. Aman, are they both trying to avoid the fact that President Kenyatta said there will be 10 years of his term, and after that they'll support Ruto's 10-year term?
You know, they can't say it in another way. Being Jubilee members of Parliament are afraid to offend the big boys. But they know as well as all of us know.
But I'm never afraid to offend
the things are never quite... Simba Nyeri, the things are not quite pretty for the deputy president in Jubilee. Like you said before, the president has always been up straight. I do my 10 years, my brother William does his 10 years. Now he's silent. Now he's talking about the big four. And anytime you mention 2022, he almost grows wild. The anger is obvious, and that means there's something he's also not comfortable with. This is what they are also not comfortable with. The truth being that from the 9th of March, after the handshake, things have changed in Jubilee.
It had a big role to play in this
handshake. And that going forward, I think Ruto will have to fight for his space.
I'll come to the handshake and then what role it has had to play in all this. Murathe did not stop at that. He went on again to say they'll actually, now after leaving the party, he went on to say they'll actually form a movement to stop the deputy president from ascending to power.
That's not all he said. He also said many people are likely to follow him.
He's also tried...
Out of Jubilee. Yeah.
Okay, out of Jubilee.
Yes.
But he's also tried to shed off, and I just mentioned that earlier, this perception, or otherwise, that he is speaking
on behalf of the president.
On behalf of the president. So what do you make of all that, Susan?
Well, I don't think necessarily he's trying to shed it off. I think we are going to believe that he was speaking for himself. He's not speaking on behalf of anybody, but for himself. But I also want to pick up on what the good professor said. I mean, that the deputy president will really have a hard time, or we have to fight it out. I think the deputy president has always had to fight. I mean, he hasn't gotten to this point by being given anything on a silver platter. So I'm not surprised at all that we are here having this discussion. I'm just surprised a bit at how early in time it is. Now, when we talk about, always talking about 2022, it is the likes of Murathe who keep bringing us to that discussion. Because when they talk about we are going to have a movement that will block the deputy president from ascending into the, from being the candidate for presidency, then they keep us in that continuous discussion of 2022. But I don't think it's a big movement. I haven't seen it. I haven't, other than him saying it. So I'm not sure that we should be worried at this point. I think the party is still intact. I think he's speaking for himself. He's trying to gain some relevancy. Okay. And we can't gag him.
Right, I'm gonna ask you a direct question. After President Kenyatta made those remarks during the campaigns that he'll support Deputy President William Ruto, are you supporting him?
Absolutely.
2022?
Yes.
Do you expect the same from Jubilee?
Yes.
And the members?
Yes, I do.
Nigeria.
But, let me qualify that. But, like I said, we've always talked about 10 years for Uhuru, 10 years for Ruto. So I'm still, and I'm going to be in that boat. However, if somebody else, like say, for example, Gonjiri's candidate, because I'm pretty sure he has one, comes along and says, I also want to throw my hat in the ring and I want to run for president, we'll let them go for the nominations, and I'm sure Ruto will win. So I'm not worried.
So, I'm trying to remember. She said I have a candidate. So
you have a candidate.
For a minute, I'm like,
that could be you.
I thought I'm the only guy. Me and Moses Kuria are the only guys who have said we want to. Anyway, so what was the question?
Are you saying you don't have a candidate?
I don't have a candidate.
You don't have a candidate?
No. There's something very interesting. And this is why you made a very interesting comment. Why Uhuru gets so agitated every time this conversation comes in. Because he actually made it clear from day one. And a lot of the times when I get in trouble with my colleagues because of telling them off for talking 2022, I remind them, we had a PG, the very first PG I ever attended as a member of parliament, where I hadn't even been sworn in, was on 30th of August 2017. And the media talked about how we were told off and talked to by the president. And he actually did give us quite a bit of a talking to. And one of the things he made very, very clear was that, guys, for 4 years, I don't want to see any campaign. I don't want us to do any siyasa. 5th year, I will run William Ruto's campaign. That's what he told us. And so every time I have seen somebody start talking about politics for 2020, I keep asking him, is that you don't believe
Do you think that position has changed?
I am starting to get concerned about it because, you see, one of the things that
the way the president has been talking.
Not even how the president has been talking, because a lot of us refuse to follow his instructions. Remember, this is a president who has told you on your first day of order, by the way, of business, that, guys, I want you to give me 4 years of undivided attention on my legacy and work. Within 3 months, people have started talking siyasa. And he keeps saying, don't, and that's why I don't agree with the handshake being such a major, it was a primary, it was a earth-shaking political event. But even before the handshake happened, he had kept saying, I don't want us to talk politics, and people were talking politics. So what would you, if you're in Uhuru's position, what would you do? These are guys, you have close to 200 members of parliament. You're telling them, people, let's focus. 50 of them or 30 of them have refused to focus. They keep going around, they're doing exactly what you told them not to do. And you have to then start getting pulled into conversations by the media, by other political players, by analysts like my colleague over here, to explain whether you are still supporting
the deputy president.
No, this one.
No. You're talking about those who are talking politics.
Susan is my friend.
Jubilee leaders who
Susan is my friend.
Do politics. You're referring to them,
friend,
isn't it?
But she has friends who talk a lot of politics a lot of the times. So, as a president, you're going to ask yourself, so now how am I supposed to continue? I thought I had a tight ship. I thought I had a team of people who I could trust. I thought I could work with these people for the next 4 years. Clearly, they're not willing to listen to me. And I am the president. And then they expect me to support them to be president after me. And they have refused to support me to do what I need to do for these people.
Because I want to bring in Haman because Honorable Susan does... And her friends, as you said, do
it's
politics.
Her friends, not her. She's good.
Let me hear your response on that.
Well, on that, I think I will very respectfully disagree with my friend here, Mheshimiwa Gujiri. Gujiri, if there is anyone who has introduced the 2022 politics in this country, it has to be him. He started with the debt thing. This one, Wambogo. He started with going around talking about Deni. Hatuna Deni, Hatuna Deni, Hatuna Deni. That's how he started all that, right? Yeah. And you even hosted him, Hussein, yeah? Yep. And after that, when the deputy president came out and very clearly stated, nobody owes me any debt, then he switched tactics and now went sijui kitaeleweka. So he's continuously kept us in that campaign mode. However, we are not talking politics. We are talking development. The president has been very emphatic that we must divorce politics from development issues. And that is what is going on, except for the Muradhes and the Gujiris, who want to keep putting us back into that 2022 mode.
Okay.
Can I defend myself before you go to Haman?
But we have seen.
Yes, I'm actually not even. I'm actually just.
You will defend yourself.
Contextualizing, yes.
Okay, but we have seen your friends, as he says, people who go out with the deputy president talk about 2022
consistently.
It has happened. We see people politicking about succession politics. It's happened. You're saying it is them who did it, and I'm not saying they did not do it, but I'm just saying you've only been talking about development. That is not factual.
No. What I'm saying is they keep bringing the conversation about the 2022 succession politics, be it them saying that Hatuna Deni, so we shall not necessarily vote for this guy, or the other guy, Murathe, saying that we have a movement which will make sure that this guy does not ascend to power. Okay. So with that, then they sort of elicit responses from the rest of us, because then, I mean, we have to sort of give the other position to that.
Let me ask this direct question. Is it wrong to talk about 2022?
I think it's early for 2022. However...
So you should not be doing it?
We should not be doing it. We should be doing development, is what I'm saying. But at the same time, the same people who come here and now cry foul, that, the other people... First of all, I don't even understand why we are put in separate, like there are these ones and these ones. Like I don't even understand what that is. I think we are one party Jubilee. It's too early to talk about 2022 politics. I support the president in saying that we should be talking about development and divorcing political issues from development.
You'll talk on.
Yeah, I wanted, my sister might have missed what happened before I talked about debt. In fact, the first time I said we do not have a debt, I was responding to Moses Kuria, who had been in Rift Valley for close to a month, in getting to the point where he said, I even have a check of all the votes of Mount Kenya people in my pocket. And when the time in 2022, I will remove it and deposit it in the ballot. And he said that several times. It's important for us to get where I came from, so that I did not introduce the conversation about debt. I reacted to it. And I remember, in fact, I was seated somewhere in Nyeri, and I was so upset with that argument. I was like, so now this guy has decided even my vote. I don't have the right to decide where I will vote. Because first, I am an elected leader of Mount Kenya. He hasn't asked me. Second, I am just a voter from Mount Kenya. And he has already told me that all my votes, he's now carrying them in his pocket. He's going to give them to someone. I was very upset. And I said, can we first make it very clear that in 2022, and I remember that post was the first time I ever commented about it, and it was on Facebook. And I said, can I make it very clear? In 2022, I will not vote for anybody based on a debt. I will vote for somebody because you have worked with the president well and finished with him well. I'll vote for you because you have a plan for what you're going to do for me post-2022. I will vote for you because you assure us that how I vote is not going to determine my relationship with you post-2022. Now, that was the first time I talked about it. Moses came to Nyeri the next day to come and explain that what I was saying was wrong. He actually came to my constituency.
Okay.
So this it's important to get the context. So by the time we now got to the point of there's no debt,
yeah.
I was actually responding to people who had spent a whole month, and not just Moses. We had a whole bunch of people going around.
Still you're going against what the president said.
No, I was actually telling the guy. In fact, I actually made it very clear. We shouldn't be having this conversation. But since you already brought... You did so the problem was going to be this. Why was there need for you
to really respond to him?
Because first, I'm an elected leader, like him. And no one, between the two of us, you see, when you get elected, we have the same mandate. So he can't go speaking on my behalf. Second, he's already he's promising people my vote in Rift Valley. And I was like, on what basis? Who gives you the right to do that? And not just him. And that has been my problem with every person who has gone promising the vote of Mount Kenya, not just Moses. Because it became a crescendo. People are going around. It became that now, and you made a very interesting point, Hussein. You have told Mheshimiwa Susan, her friends, who go into parties. One of the things that the Deputy President has done, and he's done it very well, he never actually speaks about 2022 himself. But the group of people he goes with, everywhere he goes, whether he's in Western, or Coast, or Nyanza, or Mount Kenya, will always say, we will vote for you in 2022. My question was, guys, you are taking us into politics. So we are trying to build a country.
Hussein, mine is just a minute. When he talks about people are not following what the president is telling us, which is do not talk 2022, but yet he's here and he's telling us about how he had to do a rejoinder on the debt and all that and all that. Then my friend, I feel like you're talking from both sides of your mouth.
I'm sure you would feel like that, but I'm not.
No, that's the question, actually. That's the question I asked you, because I don't know why you felt the need. What gives you the need to respond to it? But we'll come to that.
Politics is a very interesting thing. If you don't respond, a story not challenged becomes, why not me?
Okay, let me get Haman. Let me get Haman's remarks. I mean, they're talking about being told not to talk about politics as the reason as to why there are problems right now. Do you think that is why there are problems? You talked about the handshake.
Yeah, you see, Hussein, these two are politicians. They are not development officers. So we pay them through the nose, actually. We pay them to talk politics. I want them to talk politics from morning to evening. In fact, there is a big mistake in this country where members of parliament have turned themselves into development officers and managers in complete contravention of the constitution. Your role when it comes to development is oversight, to ensure the money you have given the executive is well used. You get it? We did it. So your work is politics from morning to evening. And as you sleep, just before you retire, before you pray,
I do.
Talk a little politics.
I do a lot.
To somebody, then sleep. You get what I'm saying? So, but this thing, Hussein, is not about development or about politics. Everything went haywire on the 9th of March. I've stated this and I've said it repeatedly. Up to that day of 9th of March last year, William Samoei Ruto was unassailable. Nobody would have beaten him in 2020. Not even Raila. Not even angels came to supervise the election. Nobody would have beaten Ruto until that day happened. And everything went wrong. So these guys are scatting around.
You're saying the issue is the handshake.
Is the handshake.
That is why there are problems now.
That has complicated the politics of this country. I listened to Raila read that statement at Rambe House. I took the statement myself. I read it 10 times. 10 times. I got the message. And the message was simple. That if we are going to cure the problem that bedevils this country, what has hurt us from 1963, then the politics of betrayal must be addressed. And therefore, I support Uhuru Kenyatta in doing what his father ought to have done. He failed to do. He's doing what Mwai Kibaki ought to have done, and he betrayed Raila. He's doing what the electoral system, the electoral justice, has failed to. Yeah. So you see, in other words, you are trying to make sure that this country goes forward in a better way. And that's not going to happen if you do not address the politics of betrayal. So you can betray William Ruto to pay a bigger debt, to sort out a national betrayal. As I support Morale, the MOU between Uhuru and Ruto is a small MOU between the two guys. You get it? But Uhuru is now thinking bigger.
I remember Uhuru saying it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about the MOU, but I remember President Kenyatta saying it. Yes. But of course, only the two would know.
Yes.
Yeah, but you're almost equating the handshake, because they've always been saying, let's avoid politics and talk about uniting Kenya. Yes. But you're almost equating the handshake to politics in itself.
The handshake is politics. In that handshake, many people didn't see. There was a small envelope. It was not quite visible. That envelope contained the future of this country. And in that envelope,
clearly I missed that one.
There was a name of a man who will be president in 2022. And that person was not William Ruto.
Okay, Njeri Wambugu says he missed.
You get it? Let me just finish. Let me just finish.
Okay.
Because I really kept quiet for a long time.
Yes.
I support the president because the narrative was actually a dangerous narrative. The narrative of Mimi Kumi, William Ruto Kumi. Remember, there was 15 years of Kenyatta, 24 years of Daniel Arap Moi, 10 years of Kibaki, 10 years of Uhuru, 10 years of William Ruto could be a dangerous narrative for this country if it's coming from high up there. If William Ruto can manage to win on his own accord through fighting, because I know he's a fighter, but if you make it a national narrative from State House, it is a dangerous narrative. And I support the president, so that even if he will finally support William Ruto quietly, without making it a national narrative, where it's a relay race, a Kikuyu hands over to a Kalenjin, then a Kalenjin to a Kikuyu. It's dangerous for any country.
You want to respond? Okay. Okay, go ahead.
No. Okay. First, I'm a bit surprised by the good professor here.
Yes, dear.
I'm surprised that you saw more than what the rest of us saw when it comes to the handshake. I did not see an envelope, but it might explain the handshake. But I will tell you though, I'm one of the biggest champions of the handshake.
Oh, good.
But more so the original handshake that happened in Nakuru in 2012 Afraha Stadium. That was between William Ruto and Uhuru Kenyatta. And that is when they brought us together, so that they said, there in Afraha, that even if, when they decided to run for presidency, that even if they lost and they managed to unite Kenyans, then they would have won. But they eventually went on and won. So at this point, anything that brings peace, tranquility to this country, especially given what we've gone through from 2007 and all that sort of stuff, then I support that. But at the same time, I disagree with you saying that just because the other holders or the other occupants of State House have been from this tribe, then this other person cannot or should not be able to become president just only based on his ethnicity. I think that is extremely dangerous.
I didn't say that.
That's what you said.
That
is exactly what you said.
I said if you make it a national narrative. You got it?
But so you're saying...
And I also qualified and said Uhuru could support him without making it a national agenda. You get it?
It's not a national agenda. No. It's everybody else making it a national agenda. I'm sure if most of you are in Jubilee, you also had, to be very honest, you know, it's good to be honest. There was an agreement within the party of 10 years for Uhuru and 10 years for Ruto. So when we now come here and talk about we should never support Ruto just because he's a Kalenjin, because essentially that's what you're saying, that it's only been occupied by Kikuyus and Kalenjins, then I completely disagree with you. If he's capable, if he's able, then he should be able to do it.
Then you didn't get what I said. For that reason, I ought to respond, Hussein Mohammed.
Briefly, yeah.
You see, I am saying, if you speak from State House, from the seat of power, some people do not seem to understand what the presidency means. The president is not Ngunjiri's sitting Nyeri. This is a man who carries all our aspirations. This is a man, when he speaks, Kenya is speaking. Okay. So he's telling Kenya and the world that I do 10 years, then William Ruto does 10 years. But underlying all that, there's the undeniable fact that Kenya belongs to many groups of persons. So you are saying, I'm locking this thing to be held by two communities. The president should be careful. He shouldn't sell that kind of narrative. And I did say he has every right to support William Ruto without making it a national agenda from State House. Right. You know what I'm saying?
But just a quick rejoinder on that. Because, Hussein, why are we having this discussion now? Why didn't we hear people like the good professor here talk about Uhuru should not be able to be saying that in 2016 even? So why is it so conveniently being said after 2017?
I said
that is one thing I would want to know.
I've said it many times on TV.
And second, the president...
Yes. Okay, go ahead, finish. Just
the president is also the party leader of Jubilee. So there is nothing wrong with him saying that Jubilee will continue with the presidency post his presidency. So he's not endorsing this person just because of his ethnicity.
All right.
He's endorsing him because they've come together this long journey. They came together to unite Kenya. Okay. They have a transformative agenda for 20 years, and that's what we are trying to get to.
All right. Correct, that will be okay.
Fine. That's settled. let's talk about the handshake.
The handshake, okay. Yeah, I was supposed to have talked about
the handshake.
Yes.
And then you said let's remember the
original.
I don't know
the original, yeah. Of 2012, yeah.
I don't know if you mean this the last year's handshake, March 9th.
That was meant actually.
But do you think, or what do you think? Does the handshake have a role to play in what we are seeing right now? We have seen the Deputy President publicly, at least, always saying he supports the handshake. Although we've seen him again several times saying it should not support an attempt to give or reward positions to people who lost. And again, always saying people should always accept defeat when they lose elections. So first, do you think he supports the handshake, and what kind of role do you think it has played in all this?
He absolutely supports the handshake. And the reason I say that so confidently is because, like you said, we've all heard him support it. Yes. But Hussein, when you talk about reward and when people lose to go home, I don't think it necessarily has anything to do with the handshake. What that means is a belief in democracy. That if we go for elections and I beat you, then you go home and you wait for the next round. But at the same time, we support the handshake as much as it brings peace and unity to this country. Okay. We know we've been a very divided country, and if it calms down the temperatures, then we completely support it.
Correct. That means, just a moment,
Nigeria has been silent.
The original handshake, which was good between Ruto and Uhuru, to bring the two communities together. A good idea should give way to a better idea. The good idea is bringing Ruto and Uhuru together, bringing the Kikuyu and the Kalenjin together. A better idea that Uhuru has now embraced, which is bigger than that, is that you bring all Kenyans together.
Okay, I'll read
it's a better idea.
I want Jubilee to talk, but now that you say that, I'll read one tweet. I found this tweet very interesting from J.K. Mitei, that is at Jilo Mitei, who said, Saint Mohammed, citizen Kenya, the president does not have to break one bridge so as to build another. All bridges are important, and so are handshakes, that of him and his deputy included. He can be wiser for the sake of the country.
That is true.
Do you think it's undermining unity? I mean, the president and Raila Odinga talk about unity, and so does the deputy president. But now that we have disgruntled members about the handshake, even within the president's party, does it mean he's also failing in unity? Because it was about bringing the whole country together, isn't it? That is the point of the handshake.
I don't think he's failing. and during Matiba's funeral, both the president and former prime minister alluded to the fact that in both their camps, there are people who are not happy with the handshake. And as much as I would not always agree with what Herman here would say, he's made a very interesting observation about handshakes. Mheshimiwa said that the original handshake of 2012 was earth-shaking, and it was. But we must accept that the original handshake of 2012 was not enough. Because had it been enough, we would not have had to do a handshake in 2018.
So
had we been able...
Cohesion was never really...
Yes, it wasn't achieved to the point at which it was supposed to be achieved. And that's why the 2017 election just never ended. And that the only way to end that election was not an election. It was actually to do a handshake. And this is where I have a problem with the people who want to make the first handshake and the second handshake parallel. The first handshake connects to the second one. And they are not exclusive. And sometimes when I see the critics, especially from my party, who have a problem with the handshake, I get the feeling they do not understand. Because you see, what the president was saying is...
They don't understand what the handshake is.
Yes. Because what the president was saying is, in 2012, we had just come from post-election violence. I was in the ICC because I represented one camp. William Ruto was in the ICC because he represented the opposing camp. In a fight, for lack of another word, that had happened within a specific region in a particular part of this country. To bring peace and cohesion to that part of the country, William Ruto and I did a handshake, and we brought cohesion to that part of the country.
Okay.
Now, we went on and pushed our message of national unity and cohesion to the rest of the country. It didn't get traction the way we expected it to get traction. By 2017, we were now divided in the middle.
Okay.
William Ruto and myself were on one side, Raila Odinga and his team on the other side. So in March 2018, Raila Odinga and myself, now representing the same two opposing sides that had been there in 2012, came and did a handshake. And let's be honest, the difference now and the difference in 2012 is vivid. You can tell. This is a handshake that actually united the country. It is not a handshake that united Kikuyus and Luos.
Correct.
This one actually brought the entire country together.
Although in
2020, let me tell you something. Let me finish.
The first 5 years you said it's united the whole country. Those were the reacts from the
there are people
party.
who said that.
Yeah.
I didn't say that.
Okay.
Now,
but
let me finish this point I was trying to make. What we now must accept is that there are people who had projected their political careers based on the realities that existed before the handshake. Now, those are the people who are struggling with the handshake. Because once the handshake united people, now you need to change your political game to be a player in the new reality.
Fine.
Can I
you respond. We understand the handshake for what it is, for what we've seen, for what they've said in the statement they read on the March of 9th. But you remember very well Uhuru Kenyatta saying, this thing, only I, that is Uhuru Kenyatta, and Raila Odinga know the...
Correct.
You can't really say you really understand it, do you?
Oh, no, me, I do. I mean, 1 year later, for heaven's sake...
It's only him and Odinga who really understand
for heaven's sake, Hussein, that's the other part that I don't get.
Okay, and number two,
yes.
as you respond to that, and this is for both of you,
yes,
the Jubilee Party, what really should take precedence? Because we saw issues that were talked about in the handshake, development, ethnicity, corruption, safety and security, divisive elections, devolution, inclusivity, and so on and so forth. What takes precedence according to you? The handshake and the product of the Building Bridges initiative, you can also answer that, or implementing the Jubilee Manifesto?
You see, and this is basically what you're asking, what takes precedence, the party or the nation? I mean, sincerely, I am a very loyal member of Jubilee. But if I ever had to choose between the party and the nation, I would choose the nation without blinking. Because when all is said and done, this country belongs to my party, to ODM, to Wiper, and to all other parties that exist. There's no way I would take, it's like saying, what takes precedence between your tribe and the nation? You know, they are both important, but if I had to choose one, I would choose the nation.
Jubilee was representing the nation.
I would choose the nation. You see, so if you have a decision that the party, and that's what the president, and this is a part I don't agree with you when you say that only Uhuru and Raila understand.
That's what he said.
Yes, he said it, but that's what he said in the beginning. He has spent a year trying to explain what he meant. If you haven't understood by now, even you are a bit slow. So, not you, but anybody who hasn't understood by now is a bit slow.
I'm slow.
The point, so, me, I'm not slow. Me, I'm not slow.
Right.
What I have understood the president to say is that, you know what, I am the party leader of Jubilee, but I'm also the president of the Republic, of the Great Republic of Kenya.
Okay.
And at a certain point, my party by itself has not been able to bring the unity that is required in this country. Right. I have had to reach out to somebody who leads another party to bring that national unity.
All right.
Just a quick one, a quick response to what he said earlier. Beginning with the, like what I called the original handshake of 2012. Now, when I listen to my colleague here, Mheshimiwa Gujiri, I'm a bit worried at how maybe as Kenyans we perceive things. When I hear you talk about the 2017 handshake, being more important than that of 2012, I can understand what you're saying, because maybe you are from a different part of the country. You are from central Kenya, while I am from Rift Valley. And I know how earth-shaking that handshake was. I know how much peace that handshake brought, the original handshake of 2012. So I think as much as we are building on it, we must recognize and be cognizant of how much stability that brought to this country. Because you know we were almost at the blink. But again, my friend Mheshimiwa, you are also probably not part of this side of the divide. You came to the Jubilee side a bit late in the game. And maybe that's why your position is the way it has come across. But I don't begrudge you, I'm just stating that or pointing that out.
Maybe that's why I have a clear understanding of what
so maybe, you know, but then now you've come late. Johnny, come lately, you've come late. But now you are crying more than the bereaved. You know, you want to act a bit more like, you know, you are more Jubilee than the rest of us.
That is not true.
But the point I'm trying to make here, though, is that as much as we support, because we do, the 2017 handshake, and I think whoever sent you that message that you just read put it so well, let us not destroy other bridges as we build others. Let us build on what we already have instead of destroying what we already have to build others. But I'm not saying that's what's happening.
But that goes both ways.
Exactly, it does.
Both ways. For those who support
and for those who do not support. Right.
There's something I wanted to respond to. Sorry, Herman, allow me just for purposes of Rift Valley. And let me also clarify something. I have been a member of Jubilee from the day Jubilee was founded. Susan was in TNA. They formed a coalition with URP. I was never in TNA. But I joined Jubilee from the day it was launched. So I have just to clarify. But see, I was just clarifying something so that we make it clear. But let me talk about Rift Valley. And this is something that you Rift Valley guys must get and must understand. This country is not about Rift Valley by itself. You see, every time I listen to somebody from Rift Valley, whether you are Kalenjin or a Kikuyu from Rift Valley, they have this thing of saying, you know, this handshake was earth-shaking to us. I'm like, yes, it was. But this Kenya is not made up of just you guys. There is a country that is bigger than the two communities in Rift Valley.
Okay.
So when you're looking at the things that are happening in the country, you must look at them beyond yourselves.
Right.
So yes, it was important. It was important to the people in Rift Valley. And unfortunately, it didn't deliver everything, because I know I still have IDPs still living in Nyeri town constituency to date who have not been able to go back home. But it is not about the two communities alone. Everything we do in this country cannot just be about Kikuyus living in Rift Valley and Kalenjins. We have Luos, we have Kisis, we have Luyas, we have Kikuyus in Mount Kenya. And there's something else finally. When Rift Valley nearly went to the brink in 2007, the person who actually stepped into the gap to help pacify was a Kikuyu from Kiambu, not a Kikuyu from Rift Valley.
Okay.
The guy who was taken, I want them to understand that it is bigger, that this country is bigger than the conversations that happen in Western or Rift Valley or Mount Kenya.
Let me try to put it this way. Yes. Every community is important.
Exactly.
And it's about the nation. Whether it's Rift Valley or any other place, it's about the nation. Let's try and avoid that.
And I'm running away from that.
Yeah.
But I must say, with as much contempt as I can muster, it bothers me when people who have not gone through what the people in the Rift Valley went through are so quick to be so arrogant and dismissive of what it is that this peace has achieved and how important it was. So as we go forward, Mheshimiwa, I would appreciate if you would be more sensitive to those who live in the Rift Valley.
I have relatives there,
those who have a very cosmopolitan area in that area.
I have relatives who live
so
there.
you may be very homogeneous in the Nyeri county that you come from.
Actually, we are
and
not.
maybe that is why you take peace for granted.
Majority agrees.
I agree.
Okay. You agree with
I agree.
So
I agree about homogeneity, but I must insist.
So there's been this debate.
I must insist. I must insist that this country is not made up of Kikuyus and Kalenjins.
We agree.
It's made up of all of them, including Kikuyus and Kalenjins.
Including Kikuyus and Kalenjins.
Including I, as a Kikuyu, and Manyora here who is not Kikuyu or Kalenjin, is Kenyan. So when we limit a national conversation to a peace that happened between as important as it was. Very important. It was very, very important. But we also must appreciate, Hussein, I must clarify for history, that the people who were affected by post-election violence in 2007 were not just Kikuyus and Kalenjins.
Right.
We have Luos and Kissis and
That's why we said Rift Valley. That's why we said Rift Valley. We did not. You are the one who keeps saying Kikuyus and Kalenjins. We are talking about Rift Valley.
Because the handshake, you said that the handshake in Afraha brought peace between two communities.
No. She said Rift Valley. I said the Rift Valley. Let's be very clear. Let's be very clear. Let's do this.
Uhuru Kenyatta does not come from Rift Valley.
We agree. Nobody is disputing that.
All right. Gentlemen and ladies, it's very simple.
Yes.
Whether Rift Valley or where Manyora comes from or where I come from, we're all Kenyans. Everybody's important. Let's leave it at that.
True.
I want to look at this other issue about debate around development in central Kenya.
Sure.
First, let's take a look at tweets that the Deputy President tweeted today. I'm sure you've been following what has been happening. And I'll look at those tweets. We'll look at those tweets. All right, we have them? Okay, we have them. Yeah, let's just put them on here. All right, we have one here who the first one says, yes, Jubilee rolled out a comprehensive development. This is today, right? A comprehensive development agenda to transform Kenya in 2013 from SGR, 7,000 kilometers, tarmac roads and all that. Then he goes on to say the Big Four will build on this foundation. And he says those are facts. Then it goes ahead to say, after projects promised for decades became a reality under Jubilee, many Kenyans, especially Jubilee members, understandably are asking us for more. That word is interesting, understandably. This must be tempered with the reality of what we can afford. No region, community or Kenyan will be left behind now or in the future. And the Deputy President says, Jubilee members must, however, use appropriate mechanisms to channel matters concerning us and avoid unnecessary negative debate that only undermines the party leadership, and the president. Hamman Mohamed Manyora.
Yes.
What do you make of those tweets?
I don't understand. You see, like I said from the word go, people are skirting around this stuff. Before we talk about this development of Hussein Mohammed, the politics of this country must be fixed. Once you fix the politics of this country, the politics of fear, of betrayal will disappear. Once Uhuru and Raila succeed through whatever means to fix the politics of this country, then Senator Susan should not worry about Kikuyus in Rift Valley because things will have been fixed. As far as development is concerned, there is this narrative people are trying to sell to us that central Kenya is not developed. The same people, I don't know how fast people forget Hussein. The same people told us these fellows contribute 60% of the GDP. Wrong as it was, of course. But how would you contribute to GDP in the context of no development? Obama was here a few years ago. What did he tell us? He told us the chances of a Luya or a kid sleeping hungry are higher in Siaya than in Kiambu or Nyeri. The chances of a Kenyan kid failing to join Form 1 because the parents are poor is higher in Kakamega than it is in Murang'a. These are facts. If you look at the so-called infrastructure, we have superb, if you want to use that language, including superhighway, small things, we call them super. Central Province has had more than its share of development. So Moses Kuria, who is my friend, should know.
I don't know what you're basing that on, but
if you went to the government outfit called, we used to call it CBS, Central Bureau of Statistics. It now has a name, National Bureau of whatever it is. They'll tell you about household. They will tell you about how many people can. Yeah, they will tell you the poverty. They will tell the poverty index, which CRI is using.
But we have institutions,
and you also have eyes. But
bridge this.
This is my last take on this. Kikuyu should not tell anybody they are not developed. The president is doing so much.
There's a reason why I asked that.
Yes,
Manyora.
Yes.
It's very interesting because we have institutions that deal with this.
Yes.
Constitutionally, we're actually trying to bridge areas that were left behind. Yes. There's the equalization funds and all that.
And so forth. And devolution itself.
When you're saying Kikuyus,
yes.
I don't know what you mean because they are Kikuyus who are poor.
Because it's a narrative somebody has brought.
Just like any other person is poor in this country.
We are reacting to that narrative. So the truth, I know more than you know there are more jiggers in Nyeri than anywhere else in this country.
That's not true.
That is true. He comes from Nyeri.
No, that's not true.
Including Kiandutu, think.
Kiandutu is not even
My friend, there was a Miss World who came to this country, and she specifically was targeting jiggers. She was being flown by a chopper. Senator, who is this guy? Senator Ephraim Maina's chopper. Moving from one Jigga village to another village. That was in Nyeri. It was
not in Nyeri. What Manyora is saying?
No. Ephraim Maina, where does he come from?
Ephraim comes.
I don't understand how Jiggas is important now.
See, that's
what I'm saying is, no, you see,
Manyora, my point is,
please,
you're making the point.
I get your point, but let me explain. You take things at the level they come. The discussion now is at the level of people saying, within the context of what people call development, it could be less in Kiambu than it is in my Vihiga.
There's no doubt about that.
And that's wrong. That's of course wrong. Yeah. And I was trying to say, how if you say the president has not supported you, he has given you the most juicy ministries, the most juicy parastatals. We expect things should flow from that. It is people from Mount Kenya region who do business with government.
Hey, that's not
okay.
true.
I mean, it's people from everywhere who do business with government. I mean, Manyora, this is what I was trying to say. I mean, there's perception.
This is
you know, there's a small thing in this world.
Allow me to
before we allow you, I want you to use
because this will not go anywhere.
This can't go anywhere.
I want you to use something small.
No. You're investing in a narrative that is dangerous.
No, it's not dangerous.
That is naive. As far as I'm concerned.
Maybe naive, but not dangerous.
Dangerous. Why do I say that? First and foremost, the people you are calling Kikuyus live literally everywhere in this country.
Okay.
So when you start having a conversation that certain parts Kikuyus are developed, we have Kikuyus everywhere in the country.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah. So you must be then you are saying everywhere in the country is developed. I mean, if that's your argument. The second thing you need to make is this argument that Kikuyus are the only ones who do business with government. Okay. It's not true, Haman.
That's not true. Okay. Honorable Ujiri, Honorable Hika.
Yes.
Haman, let me make
give me half a second.
Let me make this point.
Half a second.
You'll explain.
Half a second.
You'll explain.
How is saying, Haman?
All right, go ahead.
There is something called common sense.
Wow.
If you allow common sense to depart from you, you'll make a fool of yourself.
That's fine. Okay.
Common sense will tell you the things Manyora is saying in this studio are all correct.
Okay, not all correct. No. You cannot say it's okay. Let me
it's called common sense.
You cannot say we are not going anywhere with
very uncommon sense.
Honorable, you cannot say only Kikuyus are doing government. You cannot say
in this table. Now, for you to know it's not common, in a table of 4 people, you are the only one who has it.
I think what Haman is saying, and I think you'll all agree with, is central Kenya, the former province and the regions around it, now the areas around it, are more developed than many other parts of this country.
Why?
But not as developed as we would want.
No. The question, and this is why it is always important to avoid a single narrative. You say that Central Kenya, or Mount Kenya region for that matter, is more developed than other parts of the country.
Than most parts of the country.
Why? Why is it more developed?
There's infrastructure
development. It's not why is there infrastructure. There's a historical context to why Central Kenya is more developed than other places. Colonialists went and settled in Central Kenya.
Exactly.
So they started.
That's what I'm saying.
So when you see, so the point.
No.
I need to make that point because you see that point hadn't come out when he was making it.
Exactly. That's why.
So it's important to put the context that this is not just because Kikuyus live there.
Exactly. That was my point, Gujiri, and that is why I need us to leave that issue. I mean, that was my point, and you agree with that, Haman?
I have no problem.
Okay, but
my common sense tells me I have no problem.
Can we
my
come back on that?
Yes, my point was, and I'll read a tweet here, 2 tweets. One is from somebody called Mkenya, that is at Owia Sami. Last time I saw Central MPs, including Gujiri, parading at Naivasha, saying the president has not done enough, but today they sang a different tune. Psychophants.
That's not true.
Nigeria has denied that immediately. And then
I was in Naivasha. The guy wasn't even there.
But he saw you.
But Macharia Gaido was alluded to that.
Let's see. One more. Macharia Gaido says, let's be honest, it's not about Central Kenya getting a road deal. No budgetary or development data supports that. It's fellows realizing that since Kenyatta is not a presidential candidate in 2022, he will no longer be their meal ticket. Ni kujipanga.
I'm actually more inclined to agree with Macharia.
It makes a lot of sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
You agree with that?
Yes. Because you see, first and foremost, I always prefer to have conversations and arguments based on a context. When we talk about development, we talk about every region has a specific development need. And whereas you could actually have roads in a region, and the needs. Like now, for example, the statistics we have right now show that Nyeri, as per the statistics we have, has the highest rate of incommunicable diseases. So if you're going to develop Nyeri right now, we don't need roads at this moment in time as much as we need hospitals. You'll go to another part of the country. So if you don't build for us hospitals, you can keep saying we have roads. But what we need for the people, because every generation, there's a population living in Nyeri. 10 years ago, 50 years ago, that population wasn't there. You didn't have that need. You go to another place that has a malaria problem. You can't then say you need to build for them roads. What you need to do is give them hospitals. So we need to always have the conversation about development in the context of the needs of the particular region. Are they met or not? If they're not met, it doesn't matter what else they have. If the needs for the region have not been met, then that place is not developed. Whether it is in northeastern or in central.
I thought this was in reaction to Moses Kuria's...
exactly, that was the point.
I think we are not just
we disagreed. I did a press conference today. Yes. I was part of a press conference today by Kenya Leaders Caucus that just completely disagreed with Moses.
Of course. That's what you're talking about.
This is you?
Yeah, that was me
says,
as well.
Ujiribogu says, there has been debate as to whether Mount Kenya has been receiving any development. Tanga legislators, I don't know who those are.
It can't include Susan.
It doesn't include Susan.
But it does include Susan.
It doesn't. It doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
Okay. Tanga legislators have been crisscrossing Mount Kenya counties with Deputy President William Ruto. When criticized for starting 2022 campaigns early, they said the DP was launching development projects. Where are those projects?
That's exactly what I was making.
Let me
ask. That's the point I was making.
Let Susan talk
Okay. Let me first go back a little bit to what they were talking about as far as development in the areas. First, I agree completely, 100% with what the president said. He's the president of Kenya, and he must bring development to every corner of this country. That is agreeable, and that must be what we must see going. I mean, that has always been the case, I suppose. Yeah. But I have no doubt that any reasonable person agrees with that. Now, obviously, some of the legislators, you know how by nature as politicians, we sort of play to the gallery. And sometimes we may have made maybe very many promises during our campaigns, and now that we are in office and the time is going, we might feel that maybe we have not delivered as much as we should have. And obviously, but we must also, like the Deputy President said in his Twitter, we must also tamper and be realistic in our expectations, even as we talk, because there is limited resources and there is unlimited needs in the country.
But it's also his tweets. I mean, you chose one part of the tweet. There's this part where he says, he uses the word understandably.
Of course,
okay.
in the sense...
He's talking about this, I assume, just like Herman Manyora is saying, the context is what Moses Kuria and the rest have been talking about. So it's like he's saying understandably, understands what, like agrees with what Moses Kuria and team are saying, only that it should not be done that way?
Well, I didn't take it that way. I thought he meant, or from my reading of it, it means that it is understandable that our citizens will be expecting a lot more from us than maybe what we have delivered to this point. However, I want to go back a bit to what was said here. We have now shifted into better politics, so to speak. We now have politics that are issue-based, in the sense that even when our president, Uhuru Kenyatta, exits the scene, and I'm pretty sure Jubilee will still take the next presidency, whoever it may be, will still take the next presidency. These developments will go on. The implementation of the developments will go on. But as Kenyans, we've been used to, you only get development if your person is in there. And I believe that's what President Kenyatta is trying to say. This is no longer the case, and we've seen from their leadership with William Ruto that now we are talking about development everywhere. We've seen Ruto go to Migori and launch his pet projects of TTI. We've now seen Uhuru in the coast. We've seen the former Prime Minister in Kiambu. So it's good. It's a good thing. And I believe that a development should be taken to every part of this country.
This is how I see this narrative of development, Hussein Mohammed. It is becoming perhaps clear that as we move towards 2022, Central Province votes could be torn into two pieces. One, Ruto could run away with it. The other one, the handshake team will go with it. Now, this Moses Kuria narrative is simple to explain. You are trying to touch the people of Central so that come 2022, you would very easily have them on your side. Who is? The people in the Moses Kuria team are trying to, for lack of a better word, to incite the Gikuyus that this man here has done nothing for you. This man called Uhuru Kenyatta. The end game being so that when he finally tells the Kikuyus, in the interest of peace and in the interest of the future of this country, let's vote for, say, Raila Odinga, just for example. Then Uhuru will have a hard task because the people already have been incited that this man has done nothing for you.
Okay.
And the same man who has done nothing for you for 10 years is telling you to vote for another person.
So it's about, politics and succeeding President Kenyatta in central region. That's what.
Yes.
I think for
to outstage him.
What I actually like about this conversation that we're having is that, as Susan has said, we are no longer having a conversation about tribe. This, and as much as I completely disagree with Moses on the issue that we do not have development, Moses has also introduced the fact that you can challenge a leader from your community on the issue of development. So that by the time, as you say, by the time we get to 2022, you cannot come and tell me to vote for you just because I'm a Kikuyu, or just because we are Kikuyus, both of us, or because we are Kalenjins, or because we are Luos. You must then tell me what you are going to do for me. So we've actually moved our politics to the next step. And this is something that we are missing in the noises. When we hear Northeastern saying, by the way, you must know that even as we deserve development. People are now starting to politically mobilize around issues of development. Before, issues of development were never part of the conversation. So we have, and if we were able to sustain this conversation about whether or not we are developed, then people challenge other people, then facts come out, we are actually moving the country forward.
I want to leave it with one question. I know both of you will try to avoid it. This is because the topic tonight was which way Jubilee. So do you think Jubilee will suffer the fate of other parties we've seen in this country, most parties, that it will not survive after?
Personally, I don't. Because
do you think it will survive up to 2022? That's my point. With all that is happening within the Jubilee party. Okay, Harmon will answer the last. Or maybe let him start so that you can respond to him. Okay.
In fact, after I've spoken, we just go.
Common sense will prevail.
Listen, my friend, and I don't know why people like pretending. When Murade speaks, and you look at him, and you know who Murade is, then Tuju of all people, he speaks, and you look at him, you read the body language, and then you listen to the president in Mombasa. He's very annoyed about other things, and not about Murade, and not calling the house to order, not calling his Secretary General to order. And you are still wondering what's going on. The idea is Jubilee, as we know it, has come to an end. I advise my beautiful sister here, younger sister, to begin looking for a party. Advising Unjiri to look for a party, because as sure as night comes after day, Hussein Mohammed, there is no Jubilee.
Okay.
I'm not as fatalistic. I actually completely disagree with him.
But common sense also.
The assumption that his common sense is better than mine is what... The Jubilee is not going to come to an end, in my opinion, for this simple reason. We have gotten carried away by this conception or this thought that Jubilee is William Ruto's political ambition. And that if, for example, William Ruto does not get Jubilee or does not become the candidate for Jubilee, Jubilee will die. You see, Jubilee is bigger than any individual politician's political ambition in Jubilee at this moment in time. And the reason that we are able to have this kind of conversation and disagree is because we do not have to agree on a candidate to be in Jubilee. We are both in Jubilee. We don't agree on the 2022 candidate. And that doesn't mean we are going to leave
the party.
You get what I'm saying?
talking about the unity test for the party right now.
Yes, the unity test for the party is that we are actually able to go beyond, to go through this.
And you think you'll go through
it? If we do need to go to parliament and push a position that for the party, we'll push it. Because it's not about the political ambitions of the person of 2022. So when people say that Jubilee will die because people are disagreeing with the presidential candidature of William Ruto, I'm telling them, but this is not about, Jubilee is not about William Ruto. This party wasn't formed to take an individual
to the presidency. Finally, I'll come to you. Finally,
okay. I disagree with the professor, of course. Professor has really seemed to be a good prophet of doom, but I don't think Jubilee will disintegrate as maybe you're saying, and I believe that this is part of having a healthy discussion. It's also a good thing. It means that as a party we can have this sort of dialogue and also go past this. We are becoming a very healthy democracy. But I know because in the past parties have just been vehicles of elections, and by the next election then we have other parties. That is why the perception is that Jubilee, based on this little friction, may not be able to outlive this election cycle. But I'm here to tell you, Hussein, we worked very hard to make Jubilee what it is today. And we are going to continue making sure that everybody is taken care of within the party. Remember, I'm the chief whip of the party in the Senate. And what we are trying to do is make sure that our president's Big Four agenda, economic agenda, comes to be, so that even by 2022, it will make it a lot easier with that legacy to go to the next election and win as Jubilee, so that we can have this 20-year transformation agenda.
All right, finally.
There are powerful forces in this country that we want to prevent William Samoei Ruto from becoming president in 2022. Unfortunate for them, this is a tough, ambitious guy, smart, hard-working. He knows how to network and make friends. He's not as mean as some of these big people up there. Therefore, they have a hard task. And therefore, two things must die to deal with William Ruto. First, you must kill Jubilee. Secondly, you must kill the presidency as we know it. And those two will happen.
We're talking about the referendum.
If you're so sure but anyway, he's so good, then he'll beat them.
I'm saying the way they decided to beat Jaramogi by watering down the vice president.
So is he as good as you have said he is, or he's not? Because
I'm saying he's good, and because of that, they will have to do two things.
One, then the party will survive.
They will kill the party,
if he's as
kill the president.
If he's as good as you said he is, then he'll prevail. So the party won't die.
He could prevail. That's what I'm saying.
I want to believe the party. I might not agree about whether I might not agree whether he'll prevail or not. But I will.
That's common sense.
I will tell you something.
Yes.
The party will survive.
They will too. No, they will not.
All right, time will tell.
Ruto could prevail, but the party will not survive.
This conversation will obviously go on in days to come. And many have been saying that. I mean, you've been seeing on social media. They wonder if we're already in 2022. It's an interesting country we live in.
But notice that everybody's talking about Jubilee.
Thank you so much.
That's a good thing.
Ngujibi Mbungu.
I mean, everybody's talking about Jubilee. So really,
all right. There's the hand.
Even Haman has joined Jubilee. I'm there.
Post handshake. All right. Ngujibi Mbungu is the MP, Nyeri Town. Susan Kihika is the Senator of Nakuru County, and Haman Mohamed Manyora is the political analyst. Thank you all for making time for us tonight. Keep texting us your views. 22422 on Twitter is the hashtag NEWSNIGHT. We're back to sample your views again finally at the end of this break.